Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going deep on some pretty wild stuff going on in South Korea.
Yeah.
Martial law, standoffs, a democracy really being tested. We've got the BBC, CNN, the New York Times,
Wow.
Reuters, even the Taipei Times chiming in.
Yeah. Truly global.
So picture this. President Jun, already under pressure, approval ratings, the opposition running the assembly.
Right.
Late one night, boom, martial law declared.
Wow.
Soldiers at the assembly building.
Can't even imagine.
Lawmakers literally climbing fences to get in. Protests erupt. It felt like, the edge of something big.
Yeah, high stakes.
But here's the thing. Hours later, those same lawmakers, they're inside, barricading the doors and voting unanimously to overturn it.
Wow, that's a turnaround.
Just like that, Yoon's forced to back down.
Yeah.
6 hours martial law to repeal.
Speaks to the institutions, huh?
To have you here to break this down.
Happy to be here.
What I keep coming back to is why? Why would Yoon even think this was the move?
It's a question a lot of folks are asking, right?
Right.
Got to look at the lead up, I think. Approval ratings tanked. Opposition's got the majority.
The Democratic Party, right?
Exactly. And then you've got the investigations going on.
Around his administration, right?
Exactly. Politically, you could say he was, boxed in.
Yeah, and those investigations, they weren't small potatoes, were they?
No, not at all. The one that really grabbed attention was about stock manipulation.
Connected to the First Lady.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
So that plus the political gridlock, you could see how Yoon might have felt desperate.
So that late-night address declaring martial law.
I bet people watching were stunned.
Did anything jump out at you?
Yeah.
How he was, the words he used?
It went beyond just saying martial law.
Wow.
It laid out specific restrictions, banning fake news, taking control of media.
Fake news. Ugh. Always sets off alarm bells.
For sure.
Yeah.
And no clear definition given.
So basically silence anyone they wanted.
That was the worry, right? Wide open to abuse.
Chilling.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just about information, was it? They clamped down on movement gatherings, too.
Right. Protests, rallies, even labor stuff, all banned. Striking medical staff had 48 hours to get back to work.
Total lockdown feeling, huh? What was it like on the ground? People scared, confused, or was there pushback right away?
Both, actually. Reports of fear, definitely. People rushing to be with family, but also protests popping up almost immediately.
Really? That fast?
Yeah. Like that resistance spirit was already there, just waiting.
Amazing. And speaking of fast, those lawmakers defying the order.
It's something.
From climbing fences to challenging it all inside.
It shows you their dedication, The Constitution, their democracy, they weren't messing around.
It's inspiring, right? This wasn't theory. This was defending the heart of their system.
Exactly. And for some of those lawmakers, especially those who'd lived through the older South Korea.
The authoritarian days.
Yeah, it must have been deeply personal. Seen what happens, determined not to let it happen again.
And that led to some, dramatic moments. Like An Young confronting the soldiers. Gunpoint, even.
Takes guts.
Can't imagine what she was thinking.
Powerful image, though. Standing up to that when so many felt silence.
That video going viral must fueled things even more.
Absolutely.
But then it all comes down to the assembly, right? That's where the real showdown happens.
Things came to a head, that's for sure. Lawmakers barricading doors with furniture, rushing to vote, the military looming.
Tense doesn't even cut it. Do we have any accounts from inside? What was the atmosphere like?
Oh yeah, several have spoken out. They talk about the pressure, feeling the weight of history, responsibility to uphold everything. The freedoms won. Like they had to get it right for the whole country.
And they did, huh? Under all that pressure, they voted unanimously. No martial law.
Amazing. And, it wasn't just symbolic. The South Korean Constitution, it's clear. The president has to follow the parliament on this. Lifting martial law, it's their call.
So Yoon's hands were tied.
Exactly. This time, the system, the checks and balances, it worked.
Stopped things from going, who knows where.
Right. And it's a reminder, I think, for all of us, these institutions, they matter.
Can't take them for granted. Gotta participate, make sure those in charge are actually, accountable.
Couldn't have said it better myself. But this wasn't just a South Korea thing, right?
Oh, yeah. Big implications internationally. They're key U.S. allies. And the U.S., they care about stability there.
For sure. What do you think? How did the U.S. react to all this?
From what I saw, they came out pretty strong, condemning the whole martial law thing.
Didn't mince words, huh?
Nope. Like a line in the sand. Not gonna stand for this from an ally.
That's a big signal. But There's other democracies in the region, some facing their own struggles.
Yeah, like, I wonder what they took away from all this.
Exactly. You think this emboldened anyone? Or maybe scared them straight?
Could go either way, right?
Yeah.
Like a cautionary tale. But also, maybe some see it and think, hey, maybe I could.
Right. It's the double-edged sword. And then there's the North Korea question.
Can't forget about them. What do you think they were thinking, watching all this unfold?
Internally. Probably loving it.
Oh, yeah. Look how unstable they are. We're the strong ones. Propaganda gold.
Classic playbook, right? It goes to show this thing, it's not just contained. Geopolitics, alliances, the whole democracy versus authoritarianism fight.
All tangled up together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, gotta say, amidst all the mess, there's a bright spot, wouldn't you say?
Oh, definitely. The people, the lawmakers, the way they stood up.
Resilience, right?
Big time.
Yeah.
Those democratic values, they were on full display.
It's inspiring. It really is. It reminds us democracy is not just a system, it's a spirit, a commitment. And that was strong in South Korea this week.
So much happened. Where do we even start to make sense of it? What should we be taking away, watching for as this keeps going?
To me, the big thing is, democracy took a hit in South Korea, but the institutions, they held. The president tried to grab power, but the legislature, backed by the people, they stopped him.
The system worked.
It did. And that's because of people who care, who pay attention, and a free press to keep everyone informed. The people didn't just take it. They spoke up, protested, held those in power accountable. That's democracy.
Lesson for everyone, right? Not just South Korea.
100%. You can't just sit back and assume it'll all be fine. You got to be involved, know what's going on, speak up when things are wrong. Absolutely right. And we've got to stand with each other, too, globally. The U.S., other democracies speaking out, that mattered. It put pressure on Yoon to back down.
It's not just a local thing, huh? Standing up for democracy, it's a responsibility we all share. What happened in South Korea, it matters for everyone who cares about freedom.
Exactly. We can't be bystanders when democracy's threatened anywhere. But, can't forget the emotional impact this had.
Yeah.
For South Koreans who remember the old days, the authoritarian times.
Must have been terrifying.
Flashbacks.
Yeah.
For sure. Like a wound ripped open. It reminds us that this fight, it's never truly over. You always got to be watchful, ready to defend what you believe in.
Yeah. And on that note, gotta mention Taiwan. Their initial reaction to this whole thing kind of caught me off guard.
It was a head-scratcher, for sure. The DPP, the ruling party, seemed to be backing Yoon. Didn't really square with, their own history, their stance on democracy.
I remember reading that, like, wait, hold on. But then they came out with a clarification? Walking it back? What do you make of that?
It's tricky, right? They're dealing with China breathing down their necks, so maybe they wanted to show strength, unity, but...
Maybe it sent the wrong message.
Possibly. But they did clarify. No way were they endorsing martial law, especially given what they went through. They're still committed to the democratic way.
Seems like they realized they had stepped in it and tried to fix it, but it does show how touchy this whole thing is, all the different angles.
Oh, yeah. Adds another layer to an already complicated situation.
We've covered a lot, huh? Why Yoon did it, the pushback, the institutions, the global impact, even the historical stuff. Quite a deep dive.
It's been fascinating. But like we said earlier, this story's not over. What happens to you now?
Yeah, what are the consequences he might face?
Well, politically, he's on thin ice. People are calling for him to resign, some even talking impeachment.
So this whole gamble, it blew up in his face. He tried to flex his power, and it backfired big time.
Looks that way. His credibility at home and abroad, it's taken a hit. Tough to see how he recovers from this. Leads effectively after such a blunder.
Shows you actions have consequences, especially when you're in charge. But zooming out a bit, what does this mean for South Korea in the long run?
That's the million-dollar question. Do they come out of this stronger, real reforms, or does it just drive everyone further apart?
Big questions, no easy answers. And what about their place in the world? Does this hurt their image as a reliable democracy?
It's a concern, definitely. Rebuilding trust, it's going to take time. But South Korea, they've bounced back before, faced tough times and come out the other side.
So there's hope.
I think so. The people, they've shown they're resilient. They value democracy. And that's powerful.
Brings us back to what we were talking about, right? How important it is for people to be involved.
100%. The South Koreans, they push back against this power grab. It's a reminder, democracy isn't a spectator sport. Gotta get in the game.
Call to action. Can't be passive. Gotta be informed, engaged, and ready to stand up when things go wrong.
That's the takeaway. And we've got to learn from each other, right? What happened in South Korea, it's a lesson for all of us about how fragile freedom is, but also how powerful we are when we act together.
Lots to think about, no doubt. This whole thing, man, up and down, twists and turns.
Yeah, no kidding. Makes you really appreciate, what it takes to lead a country like South Korea. So much going on, so dynamic. It's a tightrope walk, isn't it?
Totally. You got your own political battles, keeping allies happy, watching out for threats, and then on top of it all, got to do it the democratic way. The people have to be with you. High stakes, thin margins for error.
And Yoon, I think he just misjudged it. Maybe the pressure got to him, felt like he had no other choice. But he underestimated how people would react.
Even with good intentions, you can screw up. Especially when you feel backed into a corner.
And the consequences, they don't just hit you, they hit the whole country.
Yeah.
Hard to see this as anything but a blow to South Korea's image.
Right.
In a stable democracy.
People at home and abroad, they're going to be watching closely now. So, big picture, what are we learning from this? What should we be keeping an eye on as things develop?
Well, it was a bad moment, no doubt. But it also showed us that South Korea's democratic institutions, they're strong. The president overreached, but the legislature, with the people behind them, they pushed back and won.
Checks and balances held.
Right. And you know what else? This wouldn't have happened if the people weren't paying attention.
They didn't just take it lying down.
Exactly. They protested, spoke out, held their leaders' feet to the fire. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
A reminder for all of us, huh? Democracy's not a given.
You got to work at it every day. Be informed, be involved, be ready to stand up for what's right.
Couldn't agree more. Well, folks, that about wraps up our deep dive for today. We just skimmed the surface of this thing. There's so much more to unpack.
Yeah, so many questions still. What's next for Yoon? Real change or just more of the same? And what about the relationship with the U.S., with North Korea? How does this all play out?
We'll be watching closely, and we'll be back with more deep dives as the story unfolds. Thanks for being here with us, and remember, this fight for democracy, it's global. Stay informed, stay engaged, and keep those questions coming.
I hereby declare an emergency martial law in order to defend the Free Republic of Korea from the threat of North Korean communist forces and to eradicate the shameless pro-North anti-state forces that are depriving our people of their freedom and happiness. This measure is necessary to safeguard our constitutional order of freedom. Through this martial law, I will rebuild and protect the Free Republic of Korea, which is falling into the depths of national ruin. I will decisively eliminate anti-state forces who have been wreaking havoc and are the main culprits of our nation's downfall. This is an unavoidable step to protect the freedoms and safety of the people, as well as to ensure the nation's sustainability and security against the anti-state forces attempting to overthrow our system.